Good morning, friends. Today we are going to continue our lecture on chapter 14, Natural Resources. So, last time we saw the composition of the earth. On the earth, we have the solid crust called the lithosphere, the water bodies which constitute the hydrosphere, and the blanket of air surrounding the earth, that is the atmosphere. And the other sphere, which has got the living and the non-living components and includes all these three spheres, is the biosphere. So we have done up till there. What else did we see? The biosphere has got biotic components, that are the living things, organisms, plants, everything, and the abiotic components, that is water, air. So earth has provided us these resources. And we saw in the previous lecture how rain is formed. What is the blanket of air? Very important for us. It maintains the temperature on the earth. We saw the greenhouse effect. We saw the depletion in the ozone layer. So we have understood how the blanket of air, the atmosphere, is very, very important for the survival of everything on the earth. Today we are going to move on to the next resource. So what is our next resource? Is water. So after air, now we talk about water. Water is called a wonder liquid because water is available only on the planet Earth. Of all the planets in the solar system, there is water only on Earth. There have been traces of water found on Mars, but yet a quantity of water body on Mars has not been found. Now, water is an unusual natural compound. Okay, it is unusual because water is found in earth in the three natural states. In the air it is found as water vapor, in the seas, ocean, rivers as water, and on the mountain and the polar regions as ice. So water is the material which naturally occurs as solid, liquid and gas. And water fulfills the various demands of different living things. Now we are aware that 3/4 of the earth's surface or 75% is covered with water. If you look at the globe, if you look at the picture of the earth, then there are huge oceans, rivers, lakes. So 75% of the earth is covered with water. But water is also present underground, under the solid crust, which we cannot see. And what we can see are the sea, the ocean, etc. And there is form of water vapor in the atmosphere. It is good to know that even the human body contains 75% of water. And water is a very important part of the human body, which we'll see why. So here it is given the necessity of water. Why is water very important for the organisms, animals, humans, everyone? It maintains a uniform temperature of the body. Now all living things, yes, have got adjusted to the environment. Means the body survives in a temperature range, the lowest and the highest temperature range. Water maintains that uniform temperature of the body. So when our body becomes very hot, it loses the heat in the form of perspiration, sweat. So when you feel very hot, your body starts to sweat. What is that sweating? The sweat takes the heat from the body and evaporates. So when you sweat, actually you are giving off heat from your body and the temperature of the body goes down. At that time, water is leaving your body, so the body starts to dehydrate. That is why you need to drink more water. In the summer, we eat fruits which contain lot of water. For example, the watermelon, the pineapple, oranges, they all provide water content to the body. So water maintains a uniform temperature of the body. All cellular processes take place in a water medium. What are the cellular processes? Digestion, respiration, circulation, all these things need a water medium. Digestion, why? Because the materials which are to be broken down have to be broken down in a water medium. Blood also contains among almost 75% water. The plasma, the liquid part, the blood contains the liquid part, which is very necessary for the circulation throughout the body. So all cellular processes inside the oxidation of food and everything needs a water medium, because the substances which are reacting are dissolved in water. When materials are dissolved in water, they can mix faster and react faster. So the reactions which occur within our body and within our cells also have got substances. The minerals, the salts are all dissolved in water. And lastly, water forms the habitat. What does the habitat mean? The place where the animals and the plants live. So water forms the habitats of many plants and animals. So here we have to distinguish the type of water. We have sweet water bodies like the lake and the rivers, and salt water bodies like the seas and the oceans. So you must have noticed that near the lakes there is different type of flora and fauna. Means the plants and animals near the lakes are of different type, those living near the rivers are of a different type, those living in the seas are of a different type. So there are many aquatic animals which live in water, many amphibians which live both on land and in water, but the kind of animals living near the water depends upon the kind of water body. So we have got a salt water body, salt water and fresh water also. So there are different animals and different plants. So that means the water forms the habitat of many plants and animals. So this is the necessity of water. So what we can briefly understand here, we can briefly understand that water is a very important resource for this earth. All the animals, plants have survived on this earth because of the water available in both the forms, fresh water and salt water. And how does the salt water turn into fresh water? We did in the previous lecture. The water from the oceans and the seas evaporate. Now though the water is salty, when it evaporates only fresh water is taken up, then it condenses and gives us fresh water in the form of rain. So this is a very unique thing for the planet Earth, is the availability of water. Now we know many organizations are trying to build a colony on Mars. But to start life on Mars, two things will be very important there, air and water. So there are scientific organizations trying to start life on Mars, but it is going to take time. On the Earth, life has evolved, life has survived because of the first resource we saw, that was air, and the second resource we saw, that is water. So water is a very precious resource. But are we taking care of water? Are we keeping the water bodies clean? So here we can see what is water pollution. When water becomes unfit for drinking and other uses. Unfit for drinking means when you cannot use water, then you have to say the water has become polluted. So when the water is good enough, then it is fit for drinking, for washing clothes, for bathing, for putting in the farms, yes, for irrigation, then water is good. But when the water becomes unfit for drinking and other uses, then water is said to be polluted. Now just like I told you, water is a very important resource. And now the freshwater bodies are getting lesser in number. The quantity of fresh water on the earth is decreasing. So because it is decreasing, we have to take care. It is a very precious resource in a very limited manner. So we have to take care of water. Now, we've seen that water has become polluted. How has this water become polluted? First thing, the dumping of waste from the industries. So there are many industries. For the development of a country, industries are needed. And industries need a lot of water also. So the government builds dams. You know, dams are built at many places. The Sardar Sarovar Dam, the Ukai Dam. All these dams are built to provide water to farms also and industries also. Because water is very, very important to run the industries. But after the industries do their work, the waste material is not cleaned. It is directly dumped into water bodies, polluting the water bodies. Now the government has become very strict in that regard. The industries cannot directly dump their waste into water bodies. They have to first treat the waste, make it from non-biodegradable to degradable, means it can break up in the body and only then it can be put into a water body. But I'm just telling you, one source of water pollution is dumping of waste. Second is washing of clothes near water bodies. Now, in some villages, people fill water from the lakes to drink or from the rivers. But when you wash clothes near the same lake, then the soapy water enters the lake and makes it unfit. So, washing of clothes near water bodies, you can see in this picture here, the lady is washing clothes. Yes, a man is bathing in the water. There are even animals inside the water. You can see this human and there's a buffalo behind. So here humans and animals are bathing in the water. Some people are washing clothes in the same water. The industries you can see are dumping the waste in the same water body. So this pollutes the water. Another is spraying chemical. Now chemical are not sprayed on the water bodies, but let us understand in detail. The farmers use insecticides and pesticides to kill the pests in the farms. Yes, to kill the insects, the dangerous harmful insects, they spray pesticides and insecticides. They also spread agriculture into their farm. Now sometimes all this is not used. Some of them remain. Now whenever there is rain, then heavy rain makes the water flow. That water carries all the insecticides, all the pesticides, all the fertilizer into the water body and pollutes the water body. And sometimes people also dump their household waste into water body. Yes? So the household waste also are put into gutter lines and the gutter lines directly go into the water bodies. Now government is making provision to separate the sewage from the water bodies, but in villages there is not much care taken. So we have to understand that water is a very, very precious resource and we have to be very careful in handling water. There is very limited water, so from now on we should not waste water but conserve water. So these are the four ways in which water is polluted, right? So we have learned about the resource water and water pollution, and I also told you that the government is building dams to preserve the water for farming and for industries. Now what are the effects of water pollution? So how is water polluted? One way of pollution is the addition of undesirable substances. Addition of undesirable substances means you add substance to the water which is undesirable. So like I told you, fertilizers and pesticides, they are poisonous. So when you put them in the fields, then what happens when the rains come? The fertilizers and pesticides are carried by the rainwater to these water bodies. Paper industries use mercury salts. So some industries dump this salt directly into the water bodies. And there are disease causing organisms, bacteria which cause cholera. Now how does this happen? In villages, now we have started the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, in which toilets are built for everyone in the villages. Earlier there were lesser number of toilets, so people used to defecate in the open. When some of them defecate near the water body, then the dirty feces, excreta, mixes with the water body, and when people drink that water, cholera is caused. So when these undesirable substances are added to the water bodies, then the water becomes polluted. So one is addition of undesirable substances. Second is the removal of desirable substance. Now what is removal mean? We know all the plants and animals living in water need oxygen. Now when these fertilizers and pesticides go to the water body, then green plants start to grow inside the water body. Then there is algae also. Now the algae which grows uses up all the dissolved oxygen in the body. So when the algae takes the oxygen and starts growing, then the aquatic animals do not get proper amount of oxygen and they start to die. So because of these undesirable things, nutrients get depleted from water bodies, which causes harm to plants and animals. And the third way is a change in temperature. When there is a change in the temperature of the water bodies, then we know aquatic organisms like the fishes and other insects organisms, they live in a certain range of temperature. I told you before. Now if the temperature of the water increases, then aquatic animals will die. But the eggs and the larvae of various animals are susceptible to temperature changes. For example, the frog, the fishes lay their eggs in water. But if the temperature of the water becomes too high, then these eggs and larvae could die. So water pollution kills a lot of animals and other aquatic animals. So this was about water. The third resource we have is the soil, the lithosphere. Now what do we mean by the soil? Soil is the portion of the earth consisting of disintegrated rock and decaying organic material. Okay? It provides support for many plants and animals. So ultimately, where do we grow our plants? When the farming is done, where the forest grow in the fertile soil. Okay, now we'll see what is the soil. The topmost layer of the earth is called the soil. Okay, the topmost layer of the earth is called the soil, and in the soil many organisms live, plants, trees, they all grow in the soil. First we'll see how the soil is created. Now creation of soil takes millions of years, at least thousands of years. Let us see how does it happen. The sun heats up the rocks. In the day, the sunlight falls on the rocks, heat the rocks, so they expand. And at night, the rocks cool down and contract. So since the sun expands and the rocks expand and contract, they do not do at the same rate. So there are cracks in the huge rocks which break up into smaller pieces. So this is how the sun breaks up huge rocks. The rocks become hotter and expand, cool down and contract, but the expand and contract rate is different, so there are cracks in the rock and the rock is breaking down. But you can imagine the cracking of the rock will take how many years? For a big rock to break down into minute particles of soil, you can imagine how many years it will take. It is a very slow process. So the sun helps in the formation of soil, but it takes a lot of years for the rocks to break down and turn into soil. The other factor is water. fast flowing water, means a river, okay, a fast flowing river or stream. When they flow from near the rocks, they are constantly flowing. They cut down the rock into small particles and carry them downstream. Okay, when these rocks are moving along with the river or the stream, they rub against other rocks and it turns into smaller particles called the soil. Then we have got the wind. Wind carries sand from one place to another, means there is a movement in the soil. So you can see the plants are growing in the soil, but this soil takes many years to form. The fourth one is living organisms. They also influence the formation of soil. Let us see how. The lichen that we talked about earlier, this type of algae, it grows on the surface of rocks. Okay, now what does this lichen do? They release certain chemicals or certain substances that turns the rock surface to powder form. Means the living organisms are also breaking down rock into thin layer of soil. Okay, other plants like moss, even moss, the lily we say, are able to grow on the surface now and they cause the rock to break up further. Then the roots of big trees go into the cracks of the rock. The roots, you must have seen everywhere when trees are growing, the roots go deeper and break the walls also. So as the roots grow bigger, the crack is forced bigger. So rocks are made to crack, and from that big rock, after ultimate cracking, finally they reach a stage where very small particles of soil are formed. Now you can imagine how many years it takes for the fertile soil to be formed. It takes thousands of years. But now what is happening? The soil is a precious resource, but one important thing, one very dangerous thing is soil erosion. The upper fertile layer of the soil is carried away by rainwater, okay, carried away by rainwater by the wrong agricultural practice and give rise to soil erosion. So let me tell you what is soil erosion. The soil which is formed after thousands of years, in which the animals survive and the plants grow, by wind, by water, the soil is carried away. Carried away where? Carried away to places where it becomes useless. For example, let me tell you, when there is heavy rain, you must have seen now it is a monsoon season, there is heavy rain, so water starts to flow. Water is carrying mud along with it. If you see in the place like Bhavnagar, our Bhavnagar, the water is flowing down the drain. So, if you want to observe, there is a bridge at RTO circle called Gadechi Vadla. There is a bridge. Below that, the water is flowing. There is a bridge at the Ram Mantra Mandir. You must have seen that small bridge. Below that, the water is flowing. At Shivaji Circle also, you will find two bridges. Water is flowing. At Subhash Nagar also, you will see that bridge. Yes? So that water which is flowing in the rain is carrying the soil. Where? To the sea. Once the fertile soil reaches the salty region of the sea, the dry region, then it becomes useless. Because once the soil mixes with the salt water, then plants cannot grow in that. So this is called soil erosion. When the top fertile soil is washed away by wind or by water, it is called soil erosion. Now you have seen it took thousands of years for the soil to be formed. But in a heavy rain, within a short time, the soil is washed away, causing soil erosion. So let us see what is the reason of soil erosion. Now first of all, what holds the soil? Yes, the soil erosion means the soil is being washed away. But who can hold the soil? Then the best thing is the roots of trees, the grass which is growing everywhere. In the monsoon you see grass, and grass has got very thick roots. The roots of grass and trees hold the soil. So if we cut down the trees, when we are cutting down the trees, there is nobody left to hold the soil. So the soil is washed away, causing soil erosion. Now one step for that is overgrazing. What does overgrazing mean? In this monsoon season, you will see cows and buffaloes are eating the grass. They eat the grass at one place, then move to the other place. Now the cows only eat the grass, they do not eat the roots of the grass. In the next rain, again the grass will grow. But sometimes there are too many animals and they keep on eating the grass, and sometimes with the grass they eat away the roots also. So that is called overgrazing. Means when the grass is less for the animals, they will eat the grass along with the roots, that is overgrazing. When the roots are gone, there is nothing to hold the soil, so soil erosion will take place. Then second is removal of topsoil by wind and water, like I explained. Now why? Due to lack of trees. The roots of the trees are holding the soil. And fourth is leaving land uncultivated. If you do not grow anything on the land for a long time, then the soil is carried away. Okay? So what we can do is, you must have seen in the farms, they have made bunds. What is a bund? A wall of rocks and clay. So when the water flows, the water will pass through the rocks, but the soil will be held back in place. So this we have done today, two things, water and soil. So remember, water and soil are very precious resources, natural resources, and we have to take care of them. One way to prevent soil erosion is to stop cutting down the forest. Everyone in the name of development is cutting down forest. And you have seen again where it has led to. Cutting down forest in Assam has led to floods in Assam. Okay, what we have done on the river bed and all the places, because water needs a path to flow. When we block that path, then there is flooding. And during these floods, when the water is flowing, it carries away the fertile soil, causing soil erosion. So one effective step to stop soil erosion is to grow more trees. So in India, we celebrate the Vanotsav, Environment Day, in which we grow more trees to prevent. So remember, nature has given us resources, but these resources are very, very limited. So we have to preserve it and take care of it. Okay? So I'm going to end this topic here today. See you in the next lecture. Thank you.